Wisconsin, and the world. This is TMJ4 News at 3:30.
School is about to start, and a big question on many people's minds: how to keep kids safe as they go back to class. It's all complicated by a lack of scientific research on the spread of COVID-19 in schools. Good afternoon, everyone. Today's TMJ4 is committed to helping parents, students, and educators make the best decisions about returning to school. And all week, we've been giving you stories to empower you to make informed decisions.
So thanks for joining us for our special and very important conversation about safely back to school. It is an important conversation. CDC data shows children are far less likely to get seriously ill from the virus, but we still don't know how often children are infected and what role they play in transmitting it.
Now that means we are conducting a big experiment when it comes to reopening our schools. Bottom line is we all have one common goal: to keep our kids and teachers safe.
So this afternoon, we're joined by school administrators from various districts, public and private institutions. Steve Plank with Burlington School District, Jim Pyatt with Mesmer Catholic Schools, Greg Bach with University School of Milwaukee, and Kelly Haig with UW-Milwaukee, representing higher education. I can't thank you enough for all joining us, but I want to start right now with Steve from Burlington. And I can imagine the conversations you're having with parents. There's no easy answer with any of them, and there's no one size fits all. So what has been the common theme when you seek their feedback?
For sure. Thanks, Charles. I mean, we did a survey in late June. It had a little bit more than a third of our families respond, and they told us that they know that almost 70% said that their students do learn better in person, and that was a goal for them. And roughly 80% told us they were ready to send their students back. And so we prioritized that, along with knowing that we needed to reduce risk, that we needed to balance the physical safety with the social emotional safety, try to develop as coherent a learning program as we can, and to make sure we're meeting the needs of all of our kids. And that's what we've been up to for the last 5 weeks.
Yeah, it's been a lot of work. Jim Pyatt from Mesmer, what specific concerns did you take into consideration when you developed your plan for your kids?
We listen to our families, and for us, it's safety first, student engagement second, student growth third. Those three things have to be at the forefront. We've surveyed our families multiple times. We've done live conferencing with our families. Here in the city of Milwaukee, in the neighborhoods that we serve, we're in a hot spot. The rates are escalating, which is very disappointing and to us this summer. Our families have very different feelings. The largest number of them don't feel safe sending their kids back to school right now. And so many of our families have frontline workers, essential workers that have regular exposure on job sites and multi-generation homes. And the trust of those families and the safety of their children comes first. We want them back in school as soon as safely possible. And so, but because that's a problem in Milwaukee, we've committed to eliminating the digital divide, and we are in the process of issuing devices and hotspots to every one of our students from grades 1 through 12 so that they can be fully engaged, and then we can get them back in the buildings as soon as possible.
Yeah, Greg, you're with University Schools, and it is interesting when you talk to city versus rural, maybe suburb, private versus public. I mean, there is a lot of different lenses that people are looking through when they look at this issue. When you approach COVID-19 and what to do, what were some of the innovative ideas or unique ways you looked at this to say, this will help solve the problem?
It's a good question. We've been working for 3 months. We had 4 different committees working on our back to school plan. And, we came to the conclusion that we want to be here at school in person, but we also had feedback from parents that many would like an online option. They just weren't comfortable. So one of the things we learned a lot from our USM at-home distance learning from the spring. And so one example of something that we've done to enhance the online learning portion, if parents choose that option, is to install kind of these, they're called meeting owls, and they're 360-degree rotating cameras in the classroom. So if somebody's at home and they are connected, it'll be easier to connect, easier on the teachers, and allow for more meaningful connections between home and school.
Makes some sense. And Kelly Haig, you are with UWM, and a lot of people know that everything seems to be changing almost every day when it comes to coronavirus. What do you want parents to know when it comes to the decision that the college is making for this upcoming fall? What can you share with us?
So I think what I would like to highlight is the connection that we have with local public health. We have a really strong relationship there, and I think that allows us to maintain open lines of communication. We also have a leadership team that meets daily to talk about the current situation, and is well represented, and allows us to be able to say, okay, for all of these fronts, whether it's the academic experience, the student experience, safety, health, risk, have we considered all of these options, and do we need to pivot? I think we pivoted fairly quickly and relatively well, all things considered, in March. So we do have that experience under our belt and have been able to move a lot of things into a virtual space. While we do want to create a space for students to gather and be together and learn in a more traditional way, we're kind of ready for whatever happens and are able to pivot, I think, fairly well.
Well, we certainly want to thank you all for talking to us about these plans that you have, and we're going to have you back when you get going again. So thank you very much. We want to let people know online right now there are stories about getting safely back to school, from classroom safeguards to the local school districts and the different things that they're doing. You can go to tmj4.com/rebound and then click on Keeping You Safe.
Just ahead, parents are going to share their views on their children returning to the classroom in the middle of this pandemic. Don't go away.
So welcome back. Parents, if you're feeling overwhelmed about the kids going back to school, you are not alone. According to the annual Back to School survey by Deloitte, 66% of parents are anxious about sending their kids to the classroom again this fall. We have 3 parents joining us this afternoon to share their perspectives on back to school during often confusing time of this COVID-19.
Yes, we have NICOLE, ACOSTA, Jana Baylor, and Christopher Sayers. We want to thank all of the 3 of you for joining us for this discussion. NICOLE, we're going to start with you. Can you tell us, first of all, your school district and just how comfortable are you in sending your kids back to school this upcoming season?
My child is in Milwaukee, and he attends a Montessori school. I am not that comfortable sending him back for a few reasons. One, it's a Montessori school, so it's very hands-on, and transitioning him into a virtual world would be very new for both of us, and for him especially.
And Jana, you have children in which school district, and what are your plans right now in sending your kids back to school?
My children are they're in a private school in the Greendale School District. As of right now, the plan hasn't come out as far as what the district is doing. They were waiting for further recommendations from the CDC and from the local health department. As of right now, both of my kids are teenagers. They'll be in high school, and my daughter has expressed that she does not want to go back to school face to face. My son is kind of indifferent, so I'm trying to balance the needs of them both during this time.
Yeah, it's not easy being a parent, especially when you don't know what the plan is. Christopher Sayers, what district are your kids in, and what are you most worried about when it comes to getting your kids back in class?
Oh, thank you so much. Well, my daughter is a sophomore at Rufus King in Milwaukee Public Schools. And my main concern throughout has been the absence of an immutable back to school plan. So right now, I don't think there's anyone on the surface of the earth who can tell me where my daughter is actually going to be taking classes on November 1st. And there isn't a standard that says when this happens, the kids will go back. That hasn't happened yet. And so I have no idea where she's supposed to be, where she will end up, what I'm supposed to do at home. Little things like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're not just little things, they're big things, and there's no easy answers here. I'll go to all of you on this. We get time for everyone, but NICOLE, let me start with you. I mean, when you look at the virtual learning option, what are the pros and cons?
Honestly, I work from home. I'm a single parent, and I work my regular full-time job from home. And so I am very concerned with having to juggle his virtual learning and my virtual working from home schedules, and not being able to fully monitor what he's doing and if he's doing well and things like that. So I'm learning of different resources that could possibly help us out with his check-ins and seeing how he's doing throughout the school year. So yeah, it's all up in the air, and it's not. We just have no real plan.
Yeah, a lot of uncharted territory right now. Jana, what about your family? How has it adjusted when it comes to education during this time? What are you going through?
So my children both were able to transition to virtual learning in the spring when all of this started. My daughter being, she was already in a setting where they used a lot of online materials. So it wasn't, the transition wasn't as hard for her. With my son, he also had some virtual work, but him going to an entirely virtual setting was more difficult. I think he, was lacking the structure and the just the daily components of being in a school setting. So it was a little bit more difficult for him. But overall, I think they did okay with it. But I definitely would like them to have some type of mix.
Christopher, just a quick question for you on virtual. Are you good with that if you have to go that route?
I am good with that. Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh, it's okay.
Sorry.
Okay. My opinion on that is every class is not as good virtually as it is in person. Some less bad, I guess is a way to say it, but there are courses which I don't think can be taught adequately online. I have yet to figure out how you can teach art online. And my daughter is actually in a language immersion program, and it's very difficult to be immersed in a language environment when you're not actually immersed in a language environment. And so I don't know how she's going to do that remotely when part of the curriculum itself is says you have to be there and be surrounded by the language. So I am terribly worried that her skills in that area are going to deteriorate because they simply aren't being refreshed on a daily basis. I think is exactly what you need.
That human connection is so important. We want to thank all of you parents for being with us this afternoon and giving us just a little bit of an insight into what everybody's thinking right now. It's not very easy at all. Online right now, though, stories to get safely back to school, from classroom safety to parents' rights at work. You can find them all. Just go to tmj4.com/rebound. Click on Keeping You Safe.
We've heard from educators, parents, and guess what? We're going to hear from the students next.
Welcome back to our Safely Back to School special. Right now, a lot of families are preparing children to go back to class. Here to give us some insight, we have 3 young scholars joining us this afternoon.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to this. All right, guys, wave your hand when I call your name. Gabe, Meredith, and Kolschel. All right. Thank you all for joining us. You probably didn't know this, but we were going to have you take a test today. And here's the question.
Don't do that to him, Charles.
Who feels comfortable going back to school? Raise your hand. Okay, 2 out of 3, not too bad. Gabe, let me ask you. So how do you feel about this then? Why do you feel comfortable about going back?
I don't really have a lot of reasons. I just know that I don't feel uncomfortable going back to school. And I don't have a very big school. I go to a private one, so there aren't as many people around. So I don't know. I know I don't feel uncomfortable going back.
That's a smart reason. If you don't feel uncomfortable, you feel okay. Meredith, let me ask you, what are your friends saying about going back to class, and what are some of the concerns you're hearing from your peers?
I think some of the concerns really are that I go to I believe it's the most populated high school in the state. So there's 2,000 kids at my school, and it would be very hard to maintain social distancing and masks and guarantee that every student would wear masks, and to contain corona at a school that big would just be really unsafe and really unnecessary. So I think virtual is a better option, at least for my school.
So, Koshal, you raised your hand. You sound like you're ready to go back. What concerns you the most?
I'm going to be a freshman in college at UW-Madison, so
okay, yeah.
I'm going to a little bit bigger kind of school, I guess, and I'm not that used to it, but I know that from what I've heard and like the presentations I've gone through at Madison, it's looking like they've created a lot of restrictions on a lot of popular places, so there won't be any big crowds or large gatherings allowed on campus at all. And I also know that when we do take classes, a majority of the lecture halls will be online, but they're all like group discussions that are only like maybe 10 to 15 kids per class. Those are the only classes that'll meet online or like in person. And then I also know that like dorm rooms, we're only allowed to have one guest that doesn't like live in the dorm room at a time. And we also get checked on a regular basis. So if someone has the virus, then we know, and they also get put in quarantine dorms. So I feel a lot safer than I think I would have if there weren't like any plans set yet. But I think Madison has done a good job of telling me what I should be expecting. So.
Well, that's good to know. Can I ask each of you a real quick question? Just one thing, just one word. Charles, start with you. What has been the toughest thing about this entire pandemic for your life?
Go ahead, Gabe.
Go,
Gabe.
Sorry. I think that the being cooped up in the house was the hardest part. Like before this happened, when we were at school, we were able to like go outside and like see everybody and be like with other people instead of at home when you're like just you and your family, which there's something about being in a classroom with other classes, with your other students, that just makes school feel more like school.
Yeah, you miss your friends, right? You miss your friends.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How about you, Meredith? What do you think? What's been the hardest thing about all this?
I completely agree. I think I really miss the social aspect, but I think it's completely necessary. And I do miss my friends, but I'd miss them a lot more if one of them got coronavirus and had complications with that. So I think it's necessary, but I really do miss them.
Understandably so.
Well said.
Kaushal, how about you?
Yeah, I have to agree with both of them. Like the ability to like see my friends on like a basis, like a regular basis. It's been kind of weird, especially during like online classes, just seeing them through a screen wasn't something I was used to.
Yeah.
And like the limited time I do get to see them, it's maybe like twice every week or something. Not even that. I think twice every like 2 weeks, but it's like a really limited amount of times, and it's always different with masks on because you're not that close with each other, and it's like that human contact's kind of gone.
Yeah, it certainly is challenging, and we do really appreciate you making time to talk with us today. We wish you the best of luck this fall. By the way, you can find more information about our Project Safely Back to School on our website at tmj4.com/rebound. Click on Keeping You Safe.
And if you're having a tough time, there are resources, including free counseling. You can find all that information at tmj4.com/rebound. Click on Keeping You Safe. Thank you for joining us at 3:30. TMJ4 News at 4 right after this.